Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. Once again, this is Jeffrey Daniel here coming to you from Abuja, Nigeria. Okay, today is the 17th of January, 2023, according to that Gregorian calendar. I'm gonna keep on that, you guys. I'm gonna keep on that Gregorian calendar business until we get this thing right, okay? I just want to say greetings to all of the beautiful people out there. And you know who you are. Only those in search of the real truth and information, you are the beautiful people. Now, let me drop in my disclaimers. Anything I say is not meant to be discriminative against any group of people, any individual, or any race of people. I am not a racist. I don't like to bang on individuals. I like to bang on topics. I like to bang on issues unless you deserve it, okay? And also, every subscriber is a blessing and every viewer is a gift and vice versa. It goes both ways, all right? Also, remember, in this age, this is the information age. Choose wisely because ignorance is a choice. And in this climate of fake news and cancel culture, I endeavor to be the voice of reason. So if you hear any information or any uncomfortable truths, remember, the truth has no obligation to be comfortable. It just has to be honest. So I'm just trying to finesse your cognitive facility. You like that? I'm trying to finesse your cognitive facility. That's what I'm doing here, you guys. But I should implore you to be very careful with the truth now, because in this present point of our existence, the truth will get you canceled. The truth will get you canceled. Now, being that this is my very first commentary for the year 2023, according to the Gregorian calendar, I thought I'd just give a little recapitulation on a couple of notes I shared with you all last year to help get this year started off on a good foot. And you know what? This is amazing. Recapitulation. All my life I heard the word recap. You know, we're going to give you guys a recap. Let's do a recap. He did a recap. And if any of you guys were English majors and you already know this word, recapitulation, I never heard the word before until just the other day, as old as I am. Now, it's not just me because I've never heard anyone else use the word recapitulation. Have you guys ever heard the word recapitulation? If you're the people in England, I don't know, because the English, they speak real English. Over in America, we speak another type of English. So maybe the people in England use the word recapitulation, but I've lived in England for a while. I've never heard the word before. So that's just deep. You can just keep on going and keep continuing to learn the language as you go along, because English isn't a language. It's a aggregation of so many different Greek, French, Latin, Slavic, that makes up English, you know, German, and all these things that make up English. So it's not just one indigenous language, you know, homogeneous language. It's not that kind of a language anyway. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna get this off on a good foot. I'm gonna give you guys some pointers. I'm going to give you a couple of recapitulations of last year. See, I'm finessing your cognitive facility. Here we go. So you guys are going to run around. Oh yeah, recapitulation. No, recap. Okay, let's do. I'll do a recap for you guys. I'm not trying to be ostentatious. Okay, so don't get me wrong. Okay, all right, here we go. Remember, regardless of what they tell you, there are not 24 hours in a day, as commonly believed. Now, daylight only lasts 12 hours. So you only have 12 hours to get as much accomplished before 12 hours of darkness falls. So stop this. There's 24 hours in a day. You know, you don't have 24 hours in a day. You got 12 hours in the day. Then you got 12 hours in the night. All right? Stop looking for happiness and settle for contentment. Happiness is an ephemeral emotion predicated by temporary satisfaction. Happiness can morph into hurt, sadness, or depression in a heartbeat. But contentment, being content with the good things in your life, with the good people in your life, can last forever. So stop chasing after happiness, you guys. Be content, all right? All right. Number 3, stop trying to validate yourselves with the material possessions that you either acquired or dying to have, just to get an approval for other people who will just be jealous and not sincerely happy for you anyway. In fact, they will try to plot your demise out of envy. So be content within yourself. And you don't have to try to validate yourself with these name brand goods and these, name brand this and that. And I'm gonna get into a little bit about that later, a little bit more about that later, you guys. So as I go on, okay? So here we go. Number 4. And this is not New Year's resolution. This is just some recaps of some things that I touched on last year, recaps. Okay, here we go. Recap. All right. Try not to do the same exact things you did last year, this year. Aspire to elevate your life in every area. There is no promise you will even live out this entire year. Think about that. So get as much accomplished as possible. Tomorrow is always a day away. All right. Number 5. Try and do something every day to make another person's life more meaningful. And in return, your life will flourish with good fortune and happiness in abundance. Just one act of kindness can cause a ripple effect into a million acts of kindness, okay? So if everyone pays it forward, no matter how minute it might seem to you, that one act of kindness can just ripple effect out to. And that's how we make the world a better place, you guys. Selfless acts, okay? Now, number 6, and finally, remember, your diet is not just what you eat, but also what you see, what you hear, what you feel, what you take into your spirit. You do become what you consume. Choose wisely. All right. Okay, that's enough of my recapitulations for now. All right. So I just want to get this year started off on a good foot in case you guys forgot some of those notes. Okay. All right. Here we go. Now, speaking of validating ourselves with material possessions, real quick, I just want to run through this. Have you all noticed all of the inundating and desperate ads for wristwatches lately? I don't wear a wristwatch. I'm not even sure if I even owned one since the 80s. I'm sure I haven't owned a wristwatch since the 80s. And that's even long before these handheld devices even came on the scene. But anyway, now they got the Rolex ads. They're taking watches out of plush boxes, wearing white gloves, looking all exclusive and elite in a desperate attempt to lure money out of your pockets. And we all know that's not how you're even going to be handling that watch every time you're going to want to wear it. Maybe the first 1 or 2 or 3 times, you like that, but then after you get on, just throwing it in the drawer and slapping it on. Maybe not a Rolex, maybe you set it on top of what is that, the bed, the nightstand or something like that. I don't know. Now, Lamborghini is selling watches, but the dumbest watch adverts I have ever seen was the watch that spins like a car rim. And these guys are like, look at this. Zzz. It reminds me of the Hot Wheel toys for kids. What grown-ass man is going to want to pay all that money just to play with a spinning watch? I mean, I guess there's a few of you out there, and I'm not trying to bang on you guys. I'm talking about the whole concept of how they're trying to lure people in. No vex there if you got one of these things. But it's just like Drake, okay? Drake is flossing hard right now because he bought a Richard Mille see-through watch for $2.2 million. Let me back that up. The rapper Drake has purchased a Richard Mille watch, and you can see through it. You can see all the parts moving in the inside or whatever like that for $2.2 million. That's the price of a luxury home or a very, very exotic car. But do you all realize why all of a sudden this frenzy of watch ads are inundating the media lately? Because of the handheld devices, you see, that everyone owns now. People are no longer buying watches to tell time. Watches are now just a showpiece, an accessory, a symbol of financial success rather than for telling time. But they are not selling as many watches as they used to sell before. So they're breaking the necks trying to lure all of your handheld device owners into a timepiece shop. They're missing that money. Even, let's say right now, if I had some Zuckerberg or Elon Musk if I had $20 billion in the bank right now at my disposal, Trust me, I still would not spend 2.5 million on a watch. I wouldn't spend 200,000 on a watch. But that's just me. That's just me, I guess. And this is the subject I want to discuss today. I want to discuss about this, how we are all slaves to the consumer market. That's really the theme of this commentary. It's about, I call this social enslavement. That's what this real main thing is about. And it's in every aspect of this thing that we perceive as our world, okay? I'm gonna get into all that, you guys. So stick with me, lean in with me, okay? This is our first time leaning together this year, you guys. So this year, I'm gonna talk about that too. But first, let's lean in this topic real quick. I got to go through this. I cannot skip past this topic. I want to talk about the 6-year-old shooter in the land of every household must have a lethal firearm, America. Without diving in too deeply about the absurdity of this incident, I'm more disturbed at how cavalier the Guardian News reports such an unconceivable, painful tragedy. And I'm quoting them verbatim, so please don't think I'm paraphrasing this. The Guardian reports a 6-year-old gaining access to a loaded gun and shooting his or herself, sadly, is not so rare. Now I'm gonna have to back that up because when I read that, I was like, a 6-year-old, we're talking about, gaining access to a loaded gun and shooting his or herself, sadly, is not rare. People, in a sane universe, if it happens just one time, that should have been enough to totally restructure whatever system that's in place to assure that it never, ever, 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 ever happens again. But it's apparently not a sane universe that we're living in. Let me move on with this. Let me tell you guys, in a so-called first world civilized country that's regarded as the leader of democracy and the leader of the free world, this type of activity is being accepted, tolerated, and endured. Your babies are dying at the hands of guns placed in civilian homes. But yet they're so quick to criticize how the Taliban in Afghanistan won't let girls go to school, or how Iran is executing its protesters, while your babies are killing themselves with guns, let alone the older citizens that are committing all these mass public shootings that have become so normal that we're now losing count. Mass public shootings have just become the order of the day in America now. If it's at a school, if it's at a church, if it's at a supermarket, if it's at a nightclub, they're going on all over the place, excuse me. It's now being accepted as part of the American experience. Mass public shootings. And I'm praying for all of you guys. When you go out, your family members, when they go out, I'm praying for all you guys because this thing, it's going to be many, many more. Because instead of decreasing, the numbers of mass public shootings in America are getting so exponentially higher in numbers. So we can only look forward, not that we're looking forward to it, but we can only look forward to hearing about more mass shootings, public mass shootings, okay? So then it goes on to report that listen, you guys, listen. That's why I'm going in on this. School shootings in the U.S. by a student so young are rare, but not unprecedented. Gun violence experts say that there have been only 3 other shootings caused by a 6-year-old student among 16 incidents involving shooters under the age of 10 since 1970. Now, since 1970, only 3 of the shooters have been under the age of 6 or 6 years old, among 16 other incidents involving shooters under the age of 16. And they know this. Even if it was back in 1970, let's say from 1970 to 2023, that's a long time. So only 6 or only 3. If it was only 1, they should have exhausted every means possible to ensure that this thing never happens again. But those incidents typically involve other students, not the educators, and that's their their take home with this. That, well, it's usually involving students maybe shooting themselves are shooting another student, but usually it's not the educators that they're shooting. And this time it was a school teacher. He shot the teacher in the abdomen. They had, the information I got is that they had some type of altercation with each other. And the little kid came back to school with a gun to shoot the teacher. 6 years old. Why would a 6-year-old even have access to a gun? Why would a 6-year-old even know how to shoot a gun? I'm gonna get into that, you guys, so lean with me, continue to lean with me. So let's lean on this, you guys. They have been calculating these statistics like business as usual, with no programs to stop this, just counting and tabulating the disasters as they unfold. But they call them gun violence experts. Hell, you don't need an expert to chalk up another child shooter. Exactly what are they experts at? Ensuring violence occurs? If they are gun violence expert, you're only considered an expert when you become very proficient at something. So if they're so proficient, why are they continuing to happen? Gun violence experts. That's what they call them, okay? I'm not saying these European Americans don't love their children too, but they sure as hell are not making policies to help protect our babies' lives. So there's no wonder why. Because America is in some serious, deep S-H-I-T. I'm too old to say doo-doo, so I'll spell it out for you. America is in some serious, deep S-H-I-T and too convoluted in their own BS to address and properly deal with it. Face it, the United States of America is addicted to gun violence. That's what you guys just have to come to terms with. The United States of America is addicted to gun violence. Just look at the bloody, graphic shooting, killing video games that are grooming our youth to be killer. As I told you before, these games act like simulators, training these children how to shoot and kill and desensitizing them in the most detailed, bloody violence. So we can expect many more unexpected killings while the lawmakers make excuses why citizens should be armed with deadly weapons. I told you all before, the origins of the Second Amendment. It was instituted by Queen Elizabeth I. It was at the First World War, something like that. Anyway, it was Queen Elizabeth I who instituted it, and it was meant for citizens taking up arms as a national militia to defend the country from attacks, not from each other. Somehow, lawmakers in America misconstrued the meaning of the Second Amendment, that we all should be armed. That's what's going on. You guys need to look this up for yourselves. Look up the origins of the Second Amendment. But they get on TV, these Republicans, maybe some Democrats too. I don't think this is a political issue, but they get on there talking about, well, we have the right to our Second Amendment. We have the right. But the Second Amendment was not intended for what you guys are using it for today. So when you hear them talking about the Second Amendment, it's a cop-out. It's a lie. It's a bark. It's a bark. Okay? Look it up for yourselves. I have to tell you guys all the time. Fact check me. Okay? Fact check me. Now, take firearms out of society. Problem solved. Any further discussions or perspectives on this issue at this point is redundant. And we don't need to keep talking about it no more. This commentary isn't about that, but it just happened. And we have to react to that, because we have family at home. We got children, grandchildren, cousins, nephews, nieces, whatever. And this is going on in schools. A 6-year-old can bring a firearm into a school. I guess no one was expecting it with someone that young, but anyway, that's America. That's America, okay? All right, anyway, this is what I really wanted to talk about. Social enslavement, okay? Are you guys doing okay? You guys hanging in with me? Okay, I got my grape juice and I cut up some lime and squeezed the lime into this grape juice. So, tangy and delicious, okay. At some point, we're gonna have to decide if we are really going to be free. I'm talking about social enslavement. At some point, we're going to have to decide if we're really going to be free or just continue to be social slaves to a system and a paradigm that are created to keep us in subjugation in order for the 1% of mankind to remain in control of our ephemeral lives and ensure that they live a life of extravagant opulence at our expense. Now, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if they had created a more utopian paradigm for us to live in, but every aspect of our societies are built on fallacies and deceitfully insidious agendas. Now, almost every invention that has become essential in our daily lives are in retrospect causing negative adverse health effects on our lives and our environment. And that's why I'm leaning into this. We're burning fossil fuels. They got chlorine and chemicals in our drinking water, the processed foods, artificial preservatives, cooking with natural gas, not so natural, pharmaceutical medicines with pernicious side effects, living in overcrowded project apartments, the ghetto, pesticides sprayed on food crops, synthetic clothing materials made with toxic chemicals, using the media to brainwash people, and the oversaturation of advertisements to make us slaves to their products, whether we need these products or not, or expensive brand name products that make us feel less relevant if we can't even afford them. Now, and they know through research how inundating us with nonstop advertisement affects the human psychic. These guys, they have programs, they pay people, they put all these things together to show the effects of how advertisement affects people with a lot. Some places there are these subliminal messages in them and things like that, things that you don't even think about, but your brain logs in. And that's why they're always showing Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. That's why they make logos. You see the logo. Now your brain is trained. You see the logo. Oh, that's Coke. You have to read the words. You just see the logo. That's Coke. You see the logos of this thing or that thing. You see the color, the shape, Starbucks, whatever like that. That's Starbucks, And this is how they train us with these advertisements so that our brain gets locked into these things and take it in and hold it there, So ever since they found a way to harness electricity for practical purposes, and Heinrich Hertz invented radio waves in 1887, which gave rise to radio and television transmissions. They have been using these tools, aka home appliances, to program our thinking and control the lives of the masses. Now, I'm not insinuating that these inventors created these inventions to control us. They were just trying to amass, personal wealth and fame. But I want you all to remember this because it's still happening now with our new billionaire gods who are competing for the #1 spot on the Forbes list. And I told you guys about that in the last commentary about our new billionaire gods. For you religious people, I'm not calling them our gods, but I'm saying this is what they're trying to be. They're trying to be our billionaire gods. Okay. If any of you still think that watching TV in our homes is purely for entertainment, think again. TV programs are especially the news networks are all propaganda tools. Okay, let me say that again. TV programs and especially our news networks are all propaganda tools. They only give us the stories that they deem fit to report to the masses, along with their opinions and perspectives to influence how we perceive certain events. It's all part of the government's agenda to keep all of the citizens in a state of false euphoria, as they make sure we utilize our time on earth catering to their economic growth, trades, territory, military might, and so on. We are just pawns in their game. And as soon as you die, you're replaced. So since the 1950s, we have been glued to our TV sets and groomed to believe what our trusted and familiar news reporters are telling us, not realizing that everything they report has been filtered through a program director whose job it is to disseminate what the major corporate elites want us to know and how we should react to what they're telling us. It's a game, you guys. It's a game. Of course, the intentions of some of these news reporters are innocuous and informative, but the government regulates all these broadcasting houses, making sure that they don't go too far off the script. Even I remember when Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, when their companies were getting too successful, The government stepped in, trying to put a leash on them. They don't want any individual to get too big for them to control. That goes all the way down to Michael Jackson, to Prince, several other people, those are just entertainers, but I'm talking about people who are running these multi-billion-dollar corporations. Elon Musk too, they keep a close tab on him, So you guys look at the game that's going on around us, while we're just pawns in it. And all these people, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and so on, it's to their advantage that all of us remain slaves to their system, slaves to their products, slaves to the paradigm that they're creating, putting us in the metaverse and all these things. We're going to talk about that, okay? So, but us, the citizens, are under the control of these billionaire gods who owns these technologies that are governing our daily lives while trying to phase us out of the equation. And that's the heavy thing about it. AI technology is precipitously becoming more intrinsically intertwined with our existential presence, and more stores are becoming cashier free, eliminating the human element, replacing us with self-checkout scanning machines. I don't know how many of that's been done in America, because I haven't been in America in a while, but in Japan and in the UK, all these self checkout machines are there. You just check yourself out, just swipe the barcodes, boom, and you're gone. They're trying to replace us already with humans. It's already on the move. It's not something in the distant future. It's happening now. It's already began. Okay, it's already began. Now, in Dubai last year, I went to a restaurant and was served by a robotic type of a cart that brought the food to our table. Now, the cool thing about it was playing music, but this all sounds cool and futuristic, but it also sounds like the end of the human in the workforce. So the question is, what are all of us natural, organic humans supposed to be doing while AI technology and robots replace us at the workplace? Sitting at home enthralled in the universe, the metaverse rather, or living out our fantasies vicariously through avatars? That is exactly the future these billionaire gods are crafting out for us. They also want to control the population growth and produce GMO foods for our consumption. I talked about that before, the population growth, because it's absurd. There's no such thing as an overpopulated planet. Even though we have 8 billion people, we only occupy about, what was the figure? We're only occupying about 1/5 of the Earth's surface of terrestrial landmass. Most of the land is not even occupied. If you drive across the middle of America, if you're going across Wyoming and Texas and Kentucky and Idaho, you see a hell of a lot of open farmland. If you're driving from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, and you see all that open desert and all this open spaces and stuff. So how in the hell are they talking about, depopulation and population control? So that's Bill Gates' thing. He's into that, okay? So now, if you look at the impetus for producing genetically modified organism, that's what the GMO stands for, genetically modified organism, for human consumption, is because they know that the means of manufacturing and running their industries is incongruous to nature and destroying our environment. So, since harmful chemicals and pesticides have stripped the farmland soils of their natural minerals and nutrients, and weather patterns are making seasonal harvesting too unstable, they now want to grow artificial food in labs rather than deal with the real issue at hand, which is reverse the damage and stop destroying our planet's ecosystem. But they can't do that because the means of sustaining their industries and their, how they're running the world, it's like it's too late to turn back now. So they can't do that. They can't just suddenly undo that, and it's all for selfish gain. They won't do that. They can't do that. So what's the next plan? What's the next plan? They think they can abandon a depleted earth and take their irresponsible, reprehensible, and destructive attributes to another planet and do the same thing all over again. Even if they could colonize another planet, do you really think that their propensity for controlling and destroying won't echo what they've done here? On the most beautiful planet and life-producing planet in our solar system? Now, did our governments create the land that we live on, or the oxygen that we breathe, or the water that we drink? Hell no. Our most advanced scientists can't even create a speck of dust from scratch. Even if they got this, what's that thing, that accelerator that's smashing atoms together and all that stuff, they cannot create one speck of dust from scratch. This is deep, you guys. I'm telling you. They can only experiment with the elements that were already in existence when we got here. So if this beautiful planet was given to us as a gift, why in the hell are we paying so much to live in it? Think about that. When humans got here, all this was here. All this was here. The Creator, God, Allah, Jehovah, Elohim, whatever you want to call that being, did not charge anybody anything. So why are we charging ourselves? Every person born, this is from my perspective, every person born into this world should own land and live on it. Animals live free off the land. All this renting and mortgages and land taxes, and if you can't keep up, foreclosures and tax liens. That's what comes, these foreclosures and tax liens. Understand, developing the land and construction, cosmopolitan infrastructures and water treatment facilities, medical help, these things do need to be compensated, of course. But man didn't create any of the elements on the periodic table, but yet they're making us pay to access it all. If you believe in a creator, God, as I said, Yahweh, Allah, whoever, however you want to choose to recognize it, do you think that he created us in this world so certain individuals can make a profit from the majority of the people in this world? Do you think that's what all this was brought here for? All this majestic existence was created for a financial profit? No. And man didn't create the natural elements, but he did create money. That's for sure. So, as far as we know, there are no other life forms on any of the 8 planets in our solar system. Or if there is, it's not evolved enough intelligent life form to communicate with us. Our Milky Way galaxy alone is estimated to house about, okay, let me get that again. Our Milky Way galaxy alone is estimated to house, listen you guys, estimated to house approximately 200 billion stars. I'm only talking about our Milky Way home galaxy. It has around 200 billion stars. Now, for those of you who are not cosmologically astute, our sun is a star, okay? So, not a planet. So, when we say stars, like, twinkle, twinkle, little star, when you look in the sky and you see all those dots, suns are considered a star in cosmology, okay? And then what we live on is a planet, all right? So we're talking about 200 billion suns, all right? Now, our own sun, as enormous as it is compared to our Earth, okay? You know how big the sun is, like 100 times bigger than our Earth, right? It is only a dwarf star compared to much larger suns in our own galaxy. In our own galaxy, there are suns that dwarf our sun and make it look like a pinhead. Can you imagine that? The more you study cosmology, the bigger things get. The more you study physics, the smaller things get. Now, we have yet to witness the biggest or the smallest. And no matter how far down they go to quantum physics and getting micro, they keep finding something within this, something within this, something within this, something. When you're looking at something and you see nothing but there's something there within it, no matter how far out they're looking, they're finding things more enormous. In fact, they discovered a black hole that's so big that it can fit so many millions of galaxies inside of it. And galaxies themselves. I don't want to talk about this guy because it boggles the mind when you really think about all the vastness. Anyway, therefore, Some people consider it arrogant for us to assume that we are the only intelligent life forms in our galaxy. However, that assumption is only based on the speculative equations of variables, considering the number of stars that have planets orbiting them as we orbit our sun. But the vast distances is what's keeping us from rolling up on each other. Now, I won't go into the immeasurable vastness uh, of the universe at this time, but I have discussed it before, as I told you guys before. In other words, it's effing vast, okay? It's effing vast. All I'm saying is to bring the fact home. Check this out, you guys. In all this immeasurable and incomprehensible vastness of the universe, look at what we are doing on this one little itsy bitsy planet in the name of democracy, nationalism, racism, humanity, and religion. Think about it. Think about it. And we think that we know the meaning of life. We only know less than 0.01% of our own universe and our own galaxy as well. But yet, we decided we have the authority to enslave other humans, to serve our selfish needs. Who to disenfranchise, which nations to rob of its natural resources, which countries to destabilize, which ethnic groups to wipe out to gain possession of their homelands, which species of wildlife to hunt for trophies or its furs to the point of extinction, and lately, which individuals to cancel from the culture just because their ideology is not in confluence with yours. And this is what we're doing, you guys. On this one, we are the third planet. I'm not trying to go on a tangent, but we're the third planet from our sun. Okay? Then there's Mars, and then there's the other, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and all these other things. All the way out to Pluto, which Pluto has been demoted from a planet. So it's just like a dwarf planet. So all the way out to there. And just within our own backyard, all that vastness. We barely know much about it. But on this one little planet, look at what's going on. A war in Ukraine, a war in Sudan and Somalia, a war in Ethiopia, fighting down there in Brazil now with the president that has just been, defeated in an election and his followers. And all this is so important to us. This is what I'm talking about, us being social enslavement. We're enslaved to this paradigm to the point that we think it's worth going out there. Racial matters, economic matters, all these things that matter so much to us in this vast universe. I don't, and this is getting deep, you guys, because I'm talking about us now as mankind and human. There's a difference, mankind and human. Any group of people confessing themselves to be the chosen people of God are only deceiving themselves. So, is there a chosen tree of God, or chosen animal of God, or chosen fish of God? Yet, it created every living being just to exalt one minor group over the masses? Of course, they use religious dogma to substantiate these chosen people claims. And if that's what you choose to believe in, please don't let me rain on your parade, okay? But let's say if I were to write a book and say that it was inspired by God, and 100 years later, people believe the moonwalk and the backslide is the chosen dance of God, would they have to believe it? Because it was inspired by God, and you don't know, 1,000 years later, how are you going to know what Jeffrey Daniel wrote in 2023? He said it was inspired by God, so we didn't live back then, so we're just going to have to believe it. Yeah, you guys do the moonwalk and the backslide, that was the dance that was inspired by God. This is, and I'm not trying to bang on the scriptures and things like that. I'm just saying how we are reacting to things and how are they playing us into certain things, okay? So, first of all, I only use the word God for the sake of moving things along. But know this, the name God was never used in the biblical days or in days of antiquity. It comes from the Proto-Germanic people around 600 AD. That's the first time they used the name God, 600 AD. And our Creator has been around long before the BC eras even existed. Now, the one who created the universe, okay? All right, so, And if you notice, I said it, referring to the Creator, it's because for some odd reason, people have assigned a gender to the Creator of the universe and everything in it. So, in order for it to be a him, he, our Heavenly Father, that would entail the Creator only having an X and a Y chromosome, because that's what distinguishes a male from a female. Every male only has an X and a Y chromosome, okay? Now we know this, okay? Biology 101. Now, this is deep. You know why? Because the female has two X chromosomes. And the Y chromosome that the male has, which is only 1/3 less than the X chromosome, and the Y chromosome only carries 55 genes, while the X chromosome carries 900 genes. So yes, you women are more genetically endowed than us men, and understandably so. You're born with and you carry the mitochondrial DNA, and that's only passed down on the matriarchal side, not in the males. So the females have two X's. We have an X and another X with the bottom broken off, and that's 1/3 less than the X chromosome. That's why we have a Y. So every time you say, he is looking down at us, my Heavenly Father, only he can do this. If you think about it, is there any part of the Bible that breaks it down and says, oh, God is definitely a man? God did say he has a man, because if he is a man, that means that he has male sexual organs, which means he would have a sex drive, which means he could pull any woman he wanted to pull because he created them all. So this is what religion is doing to us. This is what religion. I'm not saying I don't believe in a creator, you guys, so don't get me wrong on that. I'm just saying that I wouldn't go as far as assigning a sexual gender to the creator as people are doing. And so it just goes to show you how authentic some of these religions are, because if they're coming back purporting that it's a him and it's a father, think about it. See, people don't think about this. Go ahead and read what you read. Go ahead and believe in what you believe in. Why don't you just erase that him business with just the creator? All right. That's all I'm going to say about that, okay? Now, next I want to talk about is being the masters of our own destinies, okay? I was just thinking to myself, why are we all not taking our own destinies into our own hands? Even those of you who think you're free because you have a nice job or you own a business and you make a decent amount of money and you can buy things you like, but you're still a slave to the system, and that system only cares about its own survival. From the time we are born, this is deep, our birth certificates are binding us to our governments as state property. Then later our social security numbers are like a human barcode. Also, driver's license and passport numbers are other means of how the government owns us until they collect our death certificates and cash us out. Now, so the movie Matrix wasn't exaggerating when they showed humans plugged into the Matrix being used as batteries to generate powers for the machines. We were all using our life's energy, our talent, and our spiritual force to ensure that our country's governments continue to stay buoyant enough to sustain itself and compete with rival nations. And that's just what we're doing. That's why people are so stressed out, Even going to the point of taking guns and going out in public and killing people, or getting hooked on narcotics and destroying your lives and stuff. We're not supposed to be living this way, you guys. We're not supposed to be living this way, But I truly believe that we were created to participate in a grander scheme of things that we either had stolen from us, or we got too distracted prioritizing more trivial things, such as trying to rule over each other, waging wars and killing each other, digging up precious stones and minerals that we found with no price tag on them, and charging each other through the nose to pay for them, decimating wildlife and the very environment that sustains us. And now we are finally gathering at these Save the Earth summits, admitting that we are on a collision course with imminent annihilation. Now, we were given a pristine planet as a gift, and all we had to do was manage it. and ourselves and enjoy seeking out all the unknown mysteries throughout this vast and immeasurable universe that houses us. That's all we had to do. But we're too consumed with meism, myism, mindism, to the point that we're killing. You know what? When they go to war and they say that Putin has just blown up an entire apartment building where just citizens or residents live and children and are dying and old people, whatever. And people think that's a tragedy. So they say that it should be a war crime. It should be a war crime if one soldier is dead on a battlefield. We don't have the right to kill each other and assign death to each other. I can't believe that that's what the Creator created us to do, to come here and just, oh, if you have a gripe or you got a beef or something you don't understand, go and kill them. They don't agree with you, go and kill them. Oh, you can't have what you want, kill them. Started off with the first two sons in the Bible, Cain and Abel. One brother went and killed the other one. That's their paradigm. That's the, every time they tell their stories, you don't have to include yourself into their stories. Maybe that's how you guys came about. Maybe that's how maybe you guys think the earth is only 6,000 years old. So maybe you guys just been here 6,000 years. You're telling on yourselves. Think about that, okay? So let me get on with this, you guys, because I like to get into things. You guys know how I like to go into there on these excursions of information. So I like to get into the why things are happening and get into it. So continue to lean with me. I only got a little more left. I'm going to talk about the vibrations and frequencies, which I did commentaries on these before, but it's relevant to what we're talking about because we're slaves to this to this social construct that they created for us to be in. And I'm telling you guys, there's something much more deeper than what we're doing here. There's something much more meaningful, and we're missing it. Most people will live and die without even knowing about it, okay? That's why I'm talking about this, all right? I try to talk about things that matter. Maybe they don't matter to you. They're not in the forefront of your mind. But when you stop and think twice about it, or you marinated on it for a while, it really hits home and it brings it to you, okay? So I told you all before that the atoms, neutrons, electrons, and protons that are in our bodies and comprise our planet are as old as the universe itself. Our physical makeup is actually billions of years old already, even though we've been here for what, 20 years, 30 years, 60 years, 70 years, 50 years. But what is inside of our body is already over a billion years old. It's been here since the beginning of the universe. These elements just continue to explode, implode, transform, reform, restructure into an unlimited variations of entities. Suns, planets, galaxies, supernovas, black holes, dark matter, and things we haven't even yet discovered. Life forms and us. It's all come from the elements that come from the universe. And to think that our physical bodies are the results of this miraculous gumble of elements that create the physical universe. And it's all down to vibrations and frequencies. Every existential matter in the universe is vibrating at various frequencies, bound together by either gravity, visible and invisible, visible and visible wavelengths and levels of radiation, from beneficial radiations to deadly ionizing radiations. All this stuff is going on. We're looking at a solid thing. When I'm looking at my hand, it's, that's a solid hand. But when you can see all the atoms, if you could see the atoms and the molecules and everything's inside of the cell, we can't even see the cells looking at the hand, which is, our skin is the largest cell on the body. But all the cells that are in there, all the things that are going on inside of there, and then when you going all the way down to the physics, the quantum physics, and the smallest particles, these things are vibrating, they're spinning around, but we can't see it. It looks solid. And everything, even my voice that you're hearing, it's about frequency. These are all just waves, sound waves, light waves. That's going on. But we perceive these things as concrete and solid matter, So when you go deep into it, everything is about frequencies, vibrations, waves. That's all that's happening, regardless to how big it is, how small it is, how rich it is, how poor it is, how useful it is, how unuseful it is. That's all that's going on. Now, I know this is getting too academic, but it's what's really going on under our skin and throughout the universe. And here we are, a few million years later. I can say that We are here a few million years later trying to work out racial discrimination and economic inequalities with all this other stuff going on. You know, I just pray this New Year's that it draws us closer together and bring us to our real purpose for being in this universe before we annihilate everything that we have and everything that we are. Because if we continue on the course that they have us on, it's imminent. Everything is about to be destroyed. So I hope that we use this New Year, and I don't want to get deep on it. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but as I told you guys before, it was Julius Caesar who changed the New Year from March 1st back to January 1st. So it's not really even the New Year. If this guy could come along that late in history and decide to just do like that, and everybody just follows it, why can't somebody come along and just put it the hell back to where it really belongs? Because it was put there in coordinates with the movement of our solar system, our galaxy, and the constellations. That's why it was created that way. That's why the New Year's was put there. Not because of a god that they created, because January is named after the god Janus, the god of beginnings. Janus. That's why it's January. You see? So I broke this down for you guys before about history's greatest cover-up and all these things about how they changed the calendar and all these other things. I've talked about these things before. So, but I'm just wondering, if somebody like Julius Caesar, he was only human, even if he was a ruler of Rome, not the entire planet or the universe, he's just a guy who came along and did that. Why can't we undo it? Because the Chinese are still going by the Chinese New Year's, which just comes later in February, There's other civilizations that don't really cater to this Gregorian calendar business, or the Western calendar, because it's done by the Western people, But anyway, the New Year's is really in March 1st, all right? So, but anyway, as I was saying, why can't we use this time to reflect on everything that has happened, look at it historically, categorically, look at how the things have been done, and look at the things that we need to redo to put it back in order? Because if we don't put it back in order, and if we all get into the metaverse, we all let Elon Musk and his Neuralink company put these chips into our brain to help link us to their computers, why in the hell are we complying with all of this? And we're going to pay for it. It's not going to be free. We're going to pay for it. 5G network to control everything, to turn our cars into smart cars, our homes into smart homes. We already have smartphones, that turn our brains into links with their machines. Why are we doing this? Humans have lived on this planet over millions of years without having to be hooked up to a machine. Our brains, I told you guys about that, how fast our brains compute things and stores memories, petabytes of memories and stuff. We don't need this. Why do we need to be faster? Why do we need to do more? These guys are like mad scientists. Back in the old days, they would call them like Frankenstein scientists, mad scientists. This is what they're doing. And we're just like, wow, he's a billionaire. Wow. And these billionaires are leading us to our doom. AI technology. I'm not trying to say, I'm not against technological advancements. That's not the point. I'm not against progress. But if the progress is at our detriment, what's progressing? A perfect world without humans, or a minimum amount of humans with the AI technology running everything for that elite group of humans who will be left? We've seen movies like this. They've made movies like this over the decades about this utopian world run by, robots and run by this, and all the humans have to do is sit back, and and it always turns out at the end that the machines turn on the humans too, like the Terminator and all these things. So why would they even want to do that? Once the AI technology gets smart enough to recognize itself and that it doesn't need humans to cater to, it will maybe be like the Matrix and just wipe us all out. I don't know. I'm not trying to be the author of doom and like, oh, you guys, I'm not trying to, but I'm just trying to make us think, because I think the most important thing, if there's anything more important out in the universe, in our galaxy, our solar system than us, we don't know that yet. So as of now, we're the most important thing. We are the life form that we do know Whether we're speculating that there might be this there, there could be that there should be that there, that. As of yet, we don't know. So let's stick to what we know. And what we do know is that we are the most precious thing in this universe. Isn't that amazing? We are the most precious thing in this universe. Why are we sitting around watching it being destroyed? That's my point. And we all have to stop being slaves, to our social paradigms and construct that they create for us. Why don't we create some of our own, create our own? Okay, that's all I'm talking about. And if we can lean in with that and get that done, I think the future might have some hope. It might have hope. 6-year-old shooters. Anyway, you guys, I wish you all, regardless to when you believe the new year begins, January or March, I like to stick with March because I know it's the truth now. Have a very happy 2023, everybody. I even feel stupid saying that. The craziest thing about being enlightened with knowledge and being awoke and being conscious is that it's hard to fall for the fallacies now, because I know that the ancient Egyptian calendar puts us closer to the year 6,200 and something, not 2023. Anyway, you guys, what can we do? What can we do? Educate ourselves. Educate ourselves, educate the youth in the hopes that they may turn some of these things around, okay? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen tomorrow. And maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe a lot of you should be fine plugged into this matrix, living out your life. But if they say the matrix, ignorance is bliss. Maybe it's fine for a lot of you as long as you got your car and you got your designer things and you got this and you could be up in the club and you could order this bottle. Maybe that's all life is supposed to be for you. So enjoy it. So I'm not banging on you for choosing that path. Go ahead and choose that path. Do what you got to do. But those of you who know that there's something much more meaningful and that we are all part of something. As I said, the element of our bodies are comprised of the same things that all the planets and everything across this universe. That means that we are all part of it. They teach us that there's an outer space. There's no such thing as outer space. We're part of space. We are in space. We are of space. And we are made of the same stuff. So it's all in confluence with each other. It's them who compartmentalize things like that. But don't do that. It's all inclusive. That's why the Creator is omnipresent, omnipotent within everything. You see? And that's why I don't want to regulate it as he, him, a man. Because I'm a man. I'm a he. I'm a him. I'm a father. And a supernova, a planet, a sun cannot come out of my body. There's no way in the world, So anyway, think about that, you guys, okay? All right. It's not going to be easy recalibrating your perception of things going on, but if you could take it incrementally and step by step and start enlightening yourselves and start seeing the light better, maybe we can help the next generations get there if we can't make it there. But let's try to get there. I'd love to see some of it too. Anyway, have a very, very happy 2023, everybody. It's been nice talking to you again. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you guys are checking out on each other. We're losing people left, right, and center. And before I go off, I want you all to help me pray for my mentor. Seriously, he's my mentor. His name is Chuck Johnson. He was Don Cornelius's of Soul Train fame, right-hand man. And he was Dick Griffey of Solar Records, right-hand man. Chuck Johnson was the guy that all the dancers could talk to and relate to, because we couldn't talk to Don. They couldn't go over there and talk to Dick. But Chuck was the liaison between those two. And he was so instrumental in the Soul Train TV show and the Solar Records. Right now, he is in a hospital bed and he's in need of prayer. He's the guy that started my career. Tyrone Proctor was the first person to take me to the Soul Train TV station. May Tyrone Proctor's soul rest in peace. But it was Chuck Johnson standing there with his arm folded. And it was up to him. And Tyrone said, Chuck, this is my little brother. He just came back from Michigan. Can you just let him in? All right, go on in. Then the next time I went up there, and I went on my own, and Chuck was at the gate, standing there with his arms folded, because he knew who were the dancers he should let in. And there's a lot of people were coming there trying to get in. Soul Train was the place to be. And so he had to weed out who should come in and who shouldn't come in. He'd only stand at that gate for so long and he'd turn around and go back in because he was the floor manager too. He was the one that put the dancers up on the risers. So every time you see a dancer up on the middle riser or over there or up on that platform, that was Chuck assigning, okay, you can go up there, you go down here. When it was time for the Soul Train dance line, it was Chuck, okay, Jeffrey, you go to the front of the line. Oh, Jeffrey, this time, why don't you be number 5 in the line? It was Chuck doing all this. So I owe my career and everything that I've done and everywhere I've went to this man, Chuck Johnson, Tyrone Proctor too, who got me in there, and Carl Grigsby, who was helping me. But Chuck Johnson was so instrumental. And the crazy thing about it, we were both born August 24th. Of course, he's older than me. And this guy's the master of the one lines. The funniest person. I was actually trying to be like him. I was really trying to be like him because he had such a charming character, the way he spoke to people, the way he talked to people, but he had one-liners that were like, that was crazy. You would be dying laughing, you know? So, and just before I was signed to the recording contract to be in the Soul Train gang and then into Shalimar, I was working at the Soul Train office up on Sunset Boulevard. It was an unofficial job, and Chuck was actually paying me out of his pocket. Come on, Jeffrey. Yeah, $10 there. Oh, okay, come on, Jeffrey. Maybe $20 there. And I take the bus back home. I was taking their cars to the car wash. I was taking Don Cornelius' Rolls Royce and Dick Griffey's Mercedes to the car wash to get washed. Chuck had a Fiat Spider, a 2-seater car. I was going out and getting their lunches. I was getting the trade magazines and all these things. I worked at the Soul Train office before I was brought into Shalimar and all that. So I just want everybody to send out a prayer for my August 24th big brother, Chuck Johnson. And coincidentally, my daughter is born on August 24th too, 2.5 years ago. So August 24th is a magical thing for me. So you guys, let's pray for Chuck Johnson that he comes through with this time. And I'm praying for all of you. If you have somebody that's on the sick bed or somebody that you've lost recently or whatever, we're praying for all of you too, okay? All right, until the next time, I'm trying to spread the love. I'm trying to make love great again. I'm trying to take us back to the world. And I love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.